Chapter 4 A Ruinous World. Storm opened his eyes to the sight of a full yet broken moon, fractured down the middle as if smitten by the gods themselves. The new world he now looked upon seemed as if it were dying, yet he remained calm, standing upon a floating chunk of rock in the war-torn sky. Meteors rained over cold, black lands below, staining the skies blood red. The two brothers stood side by side, their eyes finding the silhouette of their grandfather perched above them. Past their faces the wind blew sharp and chill, as if winter had breezed its icy touch across the horizon. With a sudden crack, Ronan thrust his oaken cane into the stone, unleashing a score of hidden white crows from beneath his floating throne, fluttering and cawing as they soared past the two boys. "The time of your ascension has come," said Ronan, his voice daunting enough to freeze the courage of even the most hailed swordsman. Yet the two boys did not cower. They merely met his gaze silently, their hands clenched firmly to the hilts of their swords, anticipating the fight they had trained nearly their entire lives for. "As Saurians, you stand before me as demigods," Ronan began, "immortal to even time herself. Our race was born during the creation war, and so we have fought since near the beginning of everything. But your heritage will not avail you. You are not invincible. A mortal wound in inner depths will take your life, and I would not disrespect my own grandsons by holding back. I can only hope that what I have taught you will be enough for the two of you to keep your lives and surpass me." "Enough with the theatrics already," Storm said. "I'm here to beat you, not sit here while you ramble on." Ronan met Storm's gaze, sending a shiver down his spine. The anger and frustration Storm felt had not dwindled since entering the world, but he knew that succumbing to his emotions would only make the situation worse. "Relax and think," Storm thought to himself. "What do I know? I know that the old man is completely rested, and even if he weren't, it would still be a near impossible task to beat him in a sword fight." He could feel the slight frustration in Ronan over his behavior, and a sudden realization struck him. "That's it," he thought. "As far as he knows, I'm still riled up and angry about having to do this challenge, which probably means that he is expecting me to do something rash." Storm glanced at Kime, who was looking at him with pleading eyes. "Yes," thought Storm, "we can do this. I'm sorry, Kime, but I'm gonna have to piss you off a little bit for this to work." "Storm," said Kime carefully, "I know you're mad at Grandpa right now, but he said it himself. We can only do this together. Let's just work as a team and try to have fun with it." "Kime, you never change. Not everything in life is a game. This isn't just about fighting the strongest of the strong, but surpassing the limitations of oneself. What is life if not a constant struggle to reach greater heights?" said Storm. Storm looked up at their grandfather. "The old man is the peak of swordsmanship as we know it, but I will soon stand upon that very peak and turn my gaze to the stars above." Taking a long, deep breath, Storm rested his hand on his sword's woven white hilt. His resolve was set. His life was no longer in his hands, but poised before him, to lose or to keep. A torrent of clouds grew restless on the fading horizon, and jagged flashes of lightning crackled in and out of existence. "What's wrong with you?" Kime asked in an aggravated tone. "You're gonna ruin it for both of us because you're angry about having to do the test when you're tired? Stop being so selfish, Storm. I know you realize that he can't be beaten alone. In all of our sparring matches, we've barely been able to touch him." "I'm different than I was back then," said Storm, watching Ronan. "So stay out of this. He's mine." Ronan was still as silence, watching the two of them in disappointment. His thick, calloused fingers wrapped around the hilt of his cane blade as he pulled it forth from its wooden sheath. A gust of wind followed by the faint ringing of bells caught both of the brothers' attention. Following the sound, their eyes found the two bells jingling from each side of their grandfather's sash. Storm eyed them like a hawk, his grip tightening. Ronan sighed. "I don't understand how you can be so intelligent, yet never learn the simplest of life's lessons, Storm. It would seem you have yet to learn the difference between feeling and thinking, and the times in which each one is relevant. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that you aren't to be trusted," Storm jabbed back. "I see," said Ronan. So you have yet to accept your life as it is played out. Not everything is within your control as much as you wish it could be. Storm grimaced as Ronan continued. Your pride blinds your judgment. You are here for one reason, Storm, because you earned it. Don't make me regret my choice. I could care less what you regret, said Storm. You never were one to think about how we might feel about things. For so long, you pretended like we were family, pretended to be our grandfather, but you were lying to us the whole time. How could I just accept that? Nobody in their right mind would ever accept the fact that you just found us when we were babies and hid the truth of it for half our lives. It's your preconceived notions of right and wrong that blinds you, and I think if there is anyone in the world who would understand why I want to fight on my own, it would be you. Storm waited for Ronan to say something, but nothing came. Geez, thought Storm, did that just come out of my mouth? I hope I didn't overdo it, but unless I make this look real, he'll see right through it. Sorry, old man. I know those words hurt you. Ronan raised his free arm, motioning to everything around him. This world around you crumbles, falls, and withers at the tips of my fingers. These two bells cannot be claimed by your hand alone. It seems you must learn the hard way, Storm, as usual, that two people fighting independently will never surpass the capabilities of fighting together as one. Sorry, Ronan, but I must disagree with you, Storm answered. Kime may be strong, but I will not feel gratified unless I can best you with my blade alone. Kime shot Storm an angry look, but said nothing. What? Storm cried, looking at his brother. There's nothing wrong with becoming strong for yourself. A falling meteor screamed past the two of them. Storm watched it fall before crossing his arms. It's something you two will just never understand. Life is the pursuit of ambition. Nothing more, nothing less. Ronan watched the meteor explode into the black ice so far below. Arrogance as usual, Storm. A truly wasted blade, that you are. Storm glared at Ronan. We'll see about that. Storm, Kime shouted. If you think I'm just gonna back down while you fight alone. He paused, his tone softening. Let it go, Storm. If you just calm down, you'll see that he didn't do this on purpose. It's just how it turned out. Of course he did it on purpose, Kime. This is what you never see. You never see past yourself. Ever since we were little, he's always hounded me on everything I do. There's always something wrong with me, something I'm doing that he doesn't approve of. You've had it easy your whole life, Kime. I wouldn't expect you to understand, being who you are, but I'm sick of it. Kime looked taken aback. He opened his mouth to say something, but stopped. Sorry, Kime, thought Storm, feeling the pain in his brother's eyes. You'll understand soon enough. Storm pointed his blade at his brother. Kime's eyes widened at the sight. Bring your sword into my fight, Storm began, and I don't care if you're my brother. I'll cut you down myself. He turned away from Kime to look at Ronan. Never had much trouble flying in my own inner depths, he muttered, curling his free hand into a fist. Let's see how I do in this world. Before Kime could say anything, Storm burst forward, cracking the ground at his feet and flying into the sky towards Ronan. Moving at a speed impossible to follow by the naked eye, Storm laid his left hand on his hilt, his eyes focused only on the old man. Come then, Storm, Ronan bellowed. I will hold back no longer. Storm froze as Ronan vanished into thin air, just like that, gone. His heartbeat accelerated and he slowed his breathing, focusing his senses on following Ronan's aura. Sensing a sudden but fiery heat from above, Storm turned to see a falling meteor rushing straight at him. It seemed to have appeared out of nowhere, a devastating trick played by the master of the world. The brightness of it forced his eyes to a squint, and he could feel the burn of it upon him. Ronan! Storm screamed at the top of his lungs. This world will not kill me, no matter how hard you try. It is in this place that I have no fear, and it is in that fearlessness that I will conquer you. Kime screamed up at Storm as the meteor crashed straight into him. With only one move, Ronan had secured his victory. A moment later, the meteor exploded into countless specks of ember and dust. Kime could see Storm's silhouetted body through the cloud of raining ash, his blade shining brightly through the flames. It was then that Ronan appeared, his blade drawn. Storm, behind you! Kime yelled. His feet dug hard into the ground, cracking the entire island he stood upon as Kime burst into the sky towards the two. Even using the ability to flash step, a technique allowing one to move so fast it gave the appearance of teleporting, Kime knew he wouldn't make it. Storm felt as if time slowed down as he shifted his weight and felt the pressure of Ronan's blade slash just past his shoulder. Twisting around and driving his sword up in an upward arc, Storm roared as a clash of steel echoed across the sky like thunder. Storm's arm struggled as he broke Ronin's surprise attack and crossed blades with the Grandmaster of Swordplay. He could feel the overwhelming pressure of locking blades with the old man, and a shard of doubt cut through his mind. "Oh," said Ronin, "it seems you have learned something." "I've learned a lot more than that!" Storm broke free, unleashing a fury of slashes. The final attack broke nothing but air, and he flashed away after Ronin in pursuit. Their clashes boomed thunderously across the sky as they disappeared and reappeared in different places, each time breaking their reunion with a powerful crossing of blades. Kaim came to a stop in the sky, having trouble following their movements. Another meteor shot past him towards the ground, and Kaim looked down to see where it struck the black ice beneath, bringing forth a deathly inferno and the rapid melting of the world's surface. Definitely not going down there, Kaim thought. The world he looked upon was an unforgiving and chaotic place, and the only feeling Kaim felt from it was one of despair. Colossal mountains imprisoned the great fire that was quickly ravaging across the lands beneath them. Kaim looked back at his brother. "You need my help, Storm. I know you know that, whether you want to admit it or not." He watched the battle unfolding in the sky. It was subtle, but knowing his brother better than anything, Kaim could tell that he was already slowing down. Storm ducked a quick slash from Ronin, feeling strands of his hair lost, and flashed away in a temporary retreat. Sheathing his katana, Storm tried to catch his breath as he flew. Ronin suddenly appeared before him, smiling. "Running away already?" Ronin asked, jolting Storm to a stop. Storm eyed Ronin. "Just thought I liked the ambiance over here a little more. The light's a little better, you know?" "Come now, Storm," said Ronin, walking across the sky. He rested his cane blade on his shoulder. "Do you not see the impossibility of what you seek? There is strength in humility, young one. Perhaps one day you will learn to listen." Storm clenched his jaw. "I'll listen to the silence of your heart when this is over." Ronin raised an eyebrow as he felt the fire of Storm's aura burning hotter and hotter. The green in his eyes brightened as he glared at Ronin, and Storm took a step closer to the old man. "Oh, getting serious, are we?" Ronin said, switching his stance to one where he held his sword above his head. He placed one foot forward to meet Storm's advance. "Lunar rising!" Storm cried, flashing forward. Ronin squinted as Storm reflected the light of the moon off his blade and into the old man's eyes, temporarily blinding him. Twisting his body with all his might, Storm spun around, increasing his velocity tenfold. "It's a shame you're not working together." Ronin's voice felt like a whisper within Storm's mind. "You might as well be fighting each other." He vanished like sand before the wind, and Storm froze as his blade collided with another. His eyes grew dark when he realized it was Kaim's sword he had struck. Quick stepping inward, Storm launched his fist square into Kaim's gut, sending his brother hurtling through the air. "I told you to stay out of it, Kaim! Interfere again and I won't hold back!" Storm returned to his task of hunting Ronin. He found his old man floating idly in the distance, watching, waiting. Kaim came to a stop in the sky, his angry eyes watching as Storm pursued Ronin once again, alone. "All right, Storm," muttered Kaim, rubbing his stomach. "Now you're really starting to piss me off." Kaim flashed into the air, closing the distance between them as the two danced across the sky. Storm could feel his brother coming upon them and tried not to smile. "That's right, Kaim. Just a little more." Kaim's attack was perfectly timed. Ronin had just initiated a counterattack on Storm, leaving the bell on his left side completely unguarded. Kaim's eyes caught it, his focus shifting from his brother to the bell. And as he reached out his hand, Kaim felt the searing pain of a blade rip a deep gash across his shoulder. Blood arced over his body as the blade fell out of reach. He began to fall. The last thing Kaim saw was a silhouette with burning eyes staring down at him. "I told you twice now, Kaim. You're just too stupid to listen." "Storm?" Kaim's voice went quiet as he fell towards the ice and flame. Kaim could barely think as he fell through the air, although he could feel the blood from his shoulder coating his vest. Something wasn't right. Storm's attack was not in sync with his emotions. As Kaim fell, he ran through everything in his mind, from the beginning of the test to the moment where Storm had turned his blade on him. Kaim fell through the last layer of clouds and came to a floating stop. Reaching up, he touched his shoulder to find that although the cut was long and grievous to look at, it was only deep enough to draw blood. A puzzled expression came over Kaim's face before realization dawned on him. Kime grinned as he turned his eyes to the sky above. I get it now, Storm. Fine, I'll play your stupid little game. Ronan watched as Kime's body fell beneath the clouds. Serves him right, Storm muttered, turning back. Now, where were we? His eyes settled on Ronan. Come on, old man, take the bait, he thought. I timed that perfectly. Even someone of your caliber would have trouble seeing through that. Storm! Ronan roared. You would strike down your own brother in hopes of surpassing your own limitations? There are dangers where he falls, things that you do not know of. Storm smirked. And? Ronan's face was testimony to his anger. I always knew you were broken, Storm, but I never once thought it was of your heart. Sheesh, talk about cold, Storm thought. Storm laughed. Shows how much you know. And come on, Kime survived worse, right? I mean, there's a good chance he survived that. Probably. He looked down. His brother was gone. But enough about Kime. Storm stretched his arms. Finally, I can focus. Holding his sword out in a taunting motion, Storm pointed the tip of it straight at Ronan. Come on, don't be that upset. If he can't survive that, then he couldn't have passed this test anyway, right? You said it yourself. Giving us the swords was a symbol of the dangers we would face in fighting you. Ronan's expression was hidden by shadow. It would seem that the truth of your past haunts you more deeply than you will admit or try to understand, said Ronan. Some things can only be fixed from within. You have failed, Storm. Have I now? Storm thought. His anger flared. Don't speak of me as if you care. You were the one who betrayed us, lied to us, and... Storm clenched his hilt tighter. Kime and I might not even be brothers. You really never know when it comes to you. You act all high and mighty, as if you know everything there is to know about everything. But this world really says a lot about you, Ronan. I mean, look around. This world is a reflection of your inner state, is it not? Ronan was silent in response to Storm's taunt. I know you love your brother, Storm, said Ronan, whether you will admit it or not. I also understand your blind ambitions and how they mislead you. But there is something else here. Something I am not seeing. Could just be going blind in your old age, Storm said, his demeanor radiating indifference. Ronan continued looking at Storm, studying him. You may be irrational at times, Storm, but you are no fool. It would be unwise for even myself to underestimate your cunning. Ever since I found you both long ago, I have raised you, trained you, and learned who each of you are. What I'm trying to say, Storm, is that you are acting strangely. Shit, Storm's thoughts ran wild. Has he figured it out? Storm grinned and continued pointing his blade at Ronan. The world crumbles and melts beneath us. The stars cast vengeance upon us, and you're here trying to fix me? Maybe if you hadn't made this entire trial unfair to me in the first place, I wouldn't be doing exactly what I need to do to piss you off. So stop trying to get in my head, and let's settle this the old-fashioned way. With our swords. Ronan's tone sharpened. So be it, Storm. You, whose spirit is split like the moon, will now learn the truth behind yourself. Ronan released a torrent of emerald aura that manifested and twisted around his blade like a serpent, bringing forth a sound so feral that the destruction of the world seemed to dim in comparison. Storm's eyes widened. A cold sweat came over his body. Ronan's aura rose to a level that he hadn't imagined possible. Just being in the presence of it gave Storm the feeling of staring straight into the sun. Everything had just become very real. He could feel the fear numbing his senses as doubt stabbed at his heart. He took a deep breath and swallowed. One wrong move and I'm done, Storm thought. Just focus on surviving. I have to believe that he's beatable. I have to believe that the moment I'm waiting for will come. Ronan smiled. Finally, you sense the difference between us, Storm. My beliefs, my convictions, and my reason. They are unlike yours. It is the reason you will now fall. It is the difference between one who truly bets their life and one who cannot let go. You cling to life in fear of losing it. That is a weakness, Storm. A fatal weakness. His last words sang like a deathly whisper. A tenth of a second later, Storm felt Ronan's presence appear above him. On pure instinct, Storm parried the deadly blow. The strength of Ronan's attack pushed hard into Storm's guard, and he felt his body thrown down, hurtling toward the world below. The wind around him grew crazed, whipping up and around his body faster and faster. Storm's heart pounded in his chest. Nothing could be done. He was moving too fast to stop his fall. 20 feet to his side, a falling meteor raced him downwards. Rings of broken air were left in his wake as he plummeted towards the ice and flames below. Storm roared into the sky. "I will not lose to you, Ronan, no matter what!" As if heeding his call, Ronan came, moving at speeds that Storm could no longer follow. The only thing Storm could feel was the strength of Ronan's resolve. It was then that the grim reality hit him. The fall wouldn't kill him. The ice would not become master of his grave, only the keeper. No, Ronan was more elegant than that. The fight had started with blades and would end with them. Storm felt the sharp of Ronan's sword pierce his ribs, and he gasped, blood arcing from his mouth. A hazy mist surrounded Storm as Ronan's face came before his. He looked up, expecting something frightening from the old man, yet his face was not wicked and disdainful. A great sadness could be seen in the old man's eyes, and it was then that Storm realized his own imminent death, and smiled. A look of confusion came over Ronan. "Why do you smile, Storm? Is this your truth? That you fight not to win, but to die?" Storm's fingers slipped slowly from his own blood-stained hilt, and his weapon was lost to a sea of clouds. Ronan felt a sudden grip like cold iron grasp his forearms. Storm looked Ronan dead in the eyes. "Can you feel it now? My resolve?" Blood floated up from Storm's lips as the two hurtled toward the ground, locked together. Ronan tried to pull himself free, but to no avail. He could not break out of Storm's grip. "You underestimated us," Storm said. "That's the only difference between us." "Storm! You'll pay for that, you bastard!" A thunderous voice erupted from beneath them. A surge of powerful energy came from the direction of the voice. The silhouette of Kym rose from the depths, a blue cloak of aura surrounding him as he grasped his hilt and ascended like a shooting star. Ronan's teeth clenched as he struggled to pull himself free of Storm's grasp. "I thought you had caught on, old man, but it turns out my past haunts you more than myself." With all his might, Storm rotated Ronan towards the ground. His eyes found his brother racing up at them. "Kym!" Storm screamed. "The bells!" "Oh, now you want to work together?" Kym roared. "I must admit," said Ronan, "I should have seen this coming." Ronan's fingers slipped off his own blade as he tried to slow their fall. It was then that Kym came upon them, ripping forth his fall blade and slashing it towards Ronan's sash. The jingle of the bells became the only audible sound to the two brothers. Kym, who had taken one hand off his hilt, was reaching for a bell, while Storm took one hand off Ronan's forearm to reach for the other. Just as Storm felt victory upon him, Ronan broke free and vanished. Not a second later, he felt Kym's blade rip across his chest. Blood sprayed into the air. A look of horror came over Kym's eyes as he tried to pull back his sword's momentum. A splash of blood struck Kym's cheek, and a shadow fell past him. "Storm?" Kym stared in disbelief. "Storm!" Kym's entire body was shaking as he tried to make sense of what had happened. Everything had felt right. It was the perfect moment. He watched Storm's body fall beneath the dark clouds below. He looked at the blood on his blade first, then gently touched his cheek, feeling the warmth on his fingers. Then everything became clear. In the face of triumph, they had become overzealous. They had lost their chance the moment Storm took one hand off of Ronan's arm. Kym stared down at his shaking hands, and a great anger came over him. A devastating blow suddenly struck the back of his head. "You'll have to do better than that," were the last words he heard as all faded to black.